If you talk to yourself when you're alone, psychology says there's something important about you that most people completely misunderstand. You're not strange, not unstable, not losing your grip on reality, and you're definitely not doing it by accident. In fact, the habit of speaking to yourself out loud is often a sign of a mind that works faster, deeper, and more deliberately than average. Think about it. You don't just think silently all the time. You explain things to yourself. You argue with yourself. You narrate your actions. Sometimes you coach yourself. Sometimes you criticize yourself. Sometimes you just speak thoughts out loud because keeping them trapped inside feels impossible. And somewhere along the way, you probably wondered, is this normal? Psychology's answer is simple. It's not only normal, it's meaningful. Most people experience thoughts as vague feelings or half-formed ideas. Their inner world is blurry, unstructured, and reactive. Yours isn't. Your mind demands clarity. It wants ideas to have shape, sound, and sequence. And when silence isn't enough to hold that complexity, your voice becomes the tool. That's the first thing people get wrong about self-talk. You're not talking because you're confused. You're talking because you're organizing. Have you noticed how your thoughts feel clearer once you say them out loud? How problems suddenly make sense when you explain them, even if no one is listening? That's because your brain isn't just thinking abstractly. It's converting raw mental data into something tangible. Psychology shows that verbalizing thoughts activates additional processing systems in the brain, especially areas linked to logic, sequencing, and self-monitoring. In simple terms, when you speak, your mind slows chaos into structure. You turn noise into information. You don't talk to yourself because you lack control. You talk to yourself because your mind refuses to stay disorganized. This is why silence sometimes feels uncomfortable for you. Not because you're anxious, but because your brain is too active to stay idle. While others can sit with empty mental space, your mind is constantly working, sorting, improving, refining. And before we go any further, pause for a second. Be honest with yourself. Have you ever felt relief after saying something out loud, even when no one responded? If yes, that's not randomness. That's your cognitive system doing exactly what it was designed to do. If this already feels like it's describing you, leave a comment. You don't have to explain, just knowing others relate can be grounding. And if you want more psychology that validates how your mind actually works, consider subscribing. This channel is built for people who think differently. Now, let's go deeper into the first unique trait behind self-talk. People who talk to themselves often have a high-functioning internal dialogue system. Your thoughts aren't passive. They debate, they challenge each other, they test ideas from multiple angles. When you speak to yourself, you're not hallucinating conversations, you're externalizing reasoning. You'd rather hear an idea clearly than let it echo vaguely inside your head. Speaking gives your thoughts edges. It allows you to examine them objectively, almost as if they belong to someone else. This creates distance, and distance creates insight. While most people let thoughts drift unchecked, you interrogate yours. You ask, does this make sense? You ask, what am I missing? You ask, is this actually true? That habit alone puts you ahead of the curve. This is also why you might catch yourself explaining simple tasks out loud or narrating steps as you go. Your brain doesn't like ambiguity. It prefers precision. You use language the way an engineer uses blueprints to make sure everything is aligned. You aren't struggling to think. You're thinking so deeply that silence isn't enough to contain it. But structure alone doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain why you talk to yourself when you're searching for something, or why muttering a word out loud suddenly helps you focus, or why your mind feels sharper the moment your voice gets involved. That's not a coincidence either. There's a second trait at work, one rooted in how your brain evolved to see, search, and solve. And once you understand that, you'll never look at your self-talk the same way again. Have you ever noticed how talking to yourself becomes almost automatic when you're trying to find something, solve a problem, or stay focused? You might whisper the name of an object you're looking for. You might narrate your steps. You might mutter instructions under your breath. To someone watching from the outside, it can look odd. But psychologically, it's one of the most efficient focus tools the human brain has. This brings us to the second unique trait behind self-talk. Your brain uses language to sharpen attention. When you speak out loud, you're not just expressing thought, you're directing perception. Psychology shows that verbal cues can actively guide the brain's attention systems. Saying a word out loud doesn't just describe what you want, it tells your brain what to prioritize. Think about it. When you say keys or phone out loud, your mind immediately starts filtering the environment differently. Irrelevant objects fade into the background. Relevant shapes, colors, and locations become more noticeable. Your visual system becomes more efficient because it's being instructed verbally. In simple terms, your voice acts like a search command. Most people rely on passive attention. They look around and hope something catches their eye. You don't wait for chance. You actively program your focus. You give your brain a clear target and eliminate mental noise. You're not talking to yourself because you're distracted. You're talking to yourself because you're optimizing. This is why people who use self-talk often appear unusually efficient under pressure. When others feel overwhelmed, you narrow your attention. When others panic, you verbalize. When others freeze, you give yourself instructions. Your voice becomes a stabilizing anchor, and this trait goes far beyond finding lost objects. You may notice yourself talking through complex tasks, planning steps aloud, or verbalizing decisions before making them. That's because your mind doesn't like holding too many variables silently. By speaking them, you reduce cognitive load. Your thoughts stop competing for attention. They line up. This is also why silence can feel less productive for you. When everything stays internal, your mind has too many open tabs. Speaking closes some of them, but focus is only part of the story. There's a deeper reason you talk to yourself, one that has nothing to do with efficiency and everything to do with emotional strength. People who talk to themselves often use language not just to think, but to regulate emotion. You may have caught yourself saying things like, "It's okay, calm down, you've got this," or even challenging yourself with, "Why did you react like that? This isn't accidental." Psychology refers to this as distanced self-talk. Instead of being consumed by emotion, you step back and address yourself, almost like another person. That small shift creates psychological distance, and distance creates control. When stress hits, many people drown in it. You don't. You talk yourself through it. You coach yourself. You question your reactions. You slow your nervous system down using words. You don't need someone else to calm you. You've learned how to do it yourself. This is a sign of advanced self-regulation, a trait linked to emotional intelligence and resilience. While others need external reassurance, you generate it internally. Your voice becomes your grounding mechanism. And yes, sometimes that voice is critical. Sometimes it's harsh. But even then, it's part of a system trying to correct, guide, and protect you. You don't avoid self-reflection. You engage with it directly. That's rare. If you're realizing that this habit you were once embarrassed about is actually a strength, this channel is made for minds like yours. If you want more psychology that explains why you are the way you are, consider subscribing so you don't miss what's next. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Talking to yourself doesn't just help you focus or regulate emotion. It also changes how your brain stores information. People who speak thoughts out loud often remember things better, not because they repeat them aimlessly, but because the act of speaking marks information as important. When you say something out loud, your brain treats it differently. It creates a stronger memory trace. It's like tagging a file instead of letting it drift away. You're not just thinking, you're saving. This is why you might repeat instructions, rehearse plans aloud, or summarize experiences to yourself. You're reinforcing memory through language. You don't trust important information to passively stick. You actively secure it. You process life deeply, and you don't want to lose what matters. But memory is only one part of the equation. Because once you understand why your brain uses your voice this way, a bigger question emerges, one that changes how you see yourself entirely. What kind of mind needs to speak to function at its best? That answer brings us to the final traits and the full reframe of what self-talk really means. At this point, it becomes clear that talking to yourself isn't a random habit. It's a system your mind built to handle complexity. And the more complex your inner world is, the more likely you are to externalize it through language. Most people don't need to talk to themselves because their thoughts are simple, reactive, and surface level. Yours aren't. Your mind runs simulations. It revisits ideas. It evaluates outcomes. It questions assumptions. And when that process stays completely internal, it creates pressure. So your voice becomes a release valve. People often assume that silence means intelligence, but psychology shows that intelligence expresses itself in different ways. For some, it's quiet abstraction. For others, it's verbal articulation. You belong to the second group, thinkers who understand themselves best when ideas are spoken, tested, and refined out loud. This is why you often arrive at clarity after speaking, not before. The act of talking doesn't follow understanding, it creates it. You don't wait until a thought is perfect. You speak it into existence and then shape it. That ability alone signals cognitive flexibility. You're not rigid in your thinking, you're adaptive. You allow ideas to evolve. You're willing to hear your own thoughts and challenge them. Many people never do that. They believe whatever first comes to mind, and defend it blindly. You don't. You question yourself, you correct yourself, you improve your own reasoning in real time. That takes humility and intelligence. And this habit also explains why you may feel more comfortable alone than in groups. When you're alone, you can think freely, you can speak freely, you can explore ideas without interruption, judgment, or pressure to perform. Solitude gives your mind the space it needs to work properly. Talking to yourself is often how you think best, not because you dislike others, but because your mind doesn't like noise it can't control. There's another subtle trait here that rarely gets talked about: self-trust. People who talk to themselves often trust their inner voice more than external opinions. You don't immediately look outside for answers. You consult yourself first, you reason things through, you debate internally, you don't outsource your thinking. That's why you can spend long periods alone without feeling empty. Your inner dialogue is rich, it challenges you, it keeps you company, it pushes you forward. To someone who depends on constant external stimulation, that looks strange. To psychology, it looks like autonomy. And this autonomy shows up most clearly during stress. When things go wrong, many people panic or shut down. You don't. You start talking. You guide yourself step by step. You break the problem into parts. You remind yourself of what matters. You regain control through language. Your voice becomes your stabilizer. This is why people who talk to themselves often handle pressure better than expected. They don't avoid discomfort, they talk their way through it. They don't dissociate, they stay engaged. Even when you criticize yourself, there's a strange strength in it. It means you're paying attention. It means you care about growth. It means you believe you can do better. Of course, this can turn harsh if unchecked, but at its core, it's a sign of responsibility toward yourself. You don't abandon your own mind. You stay with it. And that's the part most people miss. Talking to yourself isn't about loneliness. It's about engagement. Engagement with ideas. Engagement with emotions. Engagement with reality. But all of this leads to one final realization, one that completely changes how you interpret this habit. Because when you zoom out and look at the full picture, self-talk isn't a quirk. It's a signature of a mind that processes deeply, regulates itself intelligently, and refuses to let important thoughts drift away unnoticed. And in the final part, we're going to put everything together and reframe self-talk for what it truly is, not something to hide, but something to understand, respect, and even appreciate. By now, you can probably feel the shift. What once felt like an odd habit is starting to look like something else entirely. Talking to yourself isn't a mistake in your wiring. It's evidence of how your mind actually works. A mind that refuses to stay vague. A mind that wants clarity, control, and meaning. You were never meant to keep everything silent inside. When you talk to yourself, you're not escaping reality. You're engaging with it more directly than most people ever do. You're turning thoughts into objects you can examine. You're turning emotions into language you can regulate. You're turning confusion into something workable. Most people live with unspoken thoughts swirling endlessly in their heads. They feel overwhelmed, but can't explain why. You don't let things stay that way. You confront them, out loud, if necessary. And that's the core truth here. Self-talk is not a sign of instability. It's a sign of mental presence. You stay with your thoughts instead of running from them. You face your emotions instead of numbing them. You reason your way through stress instead of pretending it isn't there. That takes strength. It also takes courage to trust your own voice in a world that constantly tells you to listen outward instead of inward. Many people need constant reassurance, constant feedback, constant noise. You don't. You have a built-in system for reflection and regulation. This is why silence alone isn't always peaceful for you. Your mind doesn't want emptiness, it wants engagement, and your voice gives it exactly that. Think about how often your self-talk has helped you make sense of something difficult, how often it's guided you through stress, helped you focus, or pulled you back from spiraling. You didn't wait for someone else to rescue you. You talked yourself through it. You became your own anchor. That's not weakness. That's resilience. And here's the reframe that changes everything. People who talk to themselves often have a strong internal relationship. You're not disconnected from yourself. You're deeply connected. You know your thoughts. You hear your emotions. You recognize when you're drifting and bring yourself back. In psychology, that's called self-awareness. And it's one of the rarest traits there is. So, the next time you catch yourself talking out loud, don't stop in embarrassment. Don't silence yourself out of shame. Remember what it actually means. It means your mind is active. It means you're engaged. It means you're thinking in a way that doesn't fit neatly into quiet boxes. You don't need to be quieter. You don't need to be normal. You don't need to explain yourself. You just need to understand yourself. Because once you do, The habit that once felt strange starts to feel familiar, even comforting. It becomes proof that you're present with your own mind, not lost in it. And before this video ends, let me ask you something gently. Do you talk to yourself more when you're thinking deeply, when you're stressed, or when you're trying to figure something out? Leave a comment with the one that fits you best. You don't have to say much, just enough to be seen. And if you want more psychology that explains the quiet, private habits people never talk about, consider subscribing. This channel exists for minds that operate beneath the surface, the ones that don't always make sense to the world, but make perfect sense once you understand them. You're not strange. You're not unstable. You're not alone. You're simply someone whose mind is active enough to speak, and now you finally know why.